Welcome to the Grief Ladies, the practical guide to what comes next. I'm Kelly Daugherty.
And I'm Karyn Arnold, and we are two grief professionals with over 50 years of combined experience. We're here to validate, educate, and give you tangible tools you can actually use.
Each episode motivates you to take action and reminds you it's okay to want to feel better. This is the Grief Ladies, a guide to what comes next. Welcome back to the Grief Ladies podcast. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Karyn, and we are here through our holiday season. We should be on the other side of Thanksgiving by now, but by no means is the holiday season over. Of course, for some, we may be very much in the thick of it because now we're getting into the shopping season, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But the letter that we are focusing on as we go through our grief framework is F for finding. Kelly, can you remind us about the grief framework and what that means?
Yes, absolutely. So our framework is based on the word grief, which is grounding, rebuilding, interacting, evolving, and finding. And I think finding is probably my favorite one of them all. I love this one. And it's really about exploring meaning, purpose, and ways to stay connected to your loved one, and also thinking about who you are now and how do you move forward. So what else do we need to know about finding, Karyn?
Well, first of all, I did not know it was your favorite one, so now I do. They're all important, we would like to think, but this is definitely that place that people do reach, and while we've said these are not intended to be like sequential, they have to go in order, but there is a method to it and a reason why this is something that comes after a lot of the other pieces. Because let's face it, if we're trying to think about who am I now, where do I go from here? If we're not sleeping at night, if we haven't managed some communication in our relationships, if we haven't worked through some guilt, we're not going to be able to answer that question. So we're hoping that there has been, our last letter is evolving. We're hoping that some evolution has happened through this process, that as you're reaching this place and you're asking those questions, we know that you may be a little bit, further along with some of that. For right now in the holidays, it's how it applies to that specifically. And this goes in a lot of different places. I think that the trying to find some meaning, trying to remain connected to our loved one. That's the other big part of it, is if we are moving forward, we are certainly not wanting to feel like we're leaving them behind. So I know that's something, Kelly, you and I are both doing a lot in our work. So I think as we talk about that in general, where would you say that fits into the holiday season?
Well, I think multiple things, right? So I was thinking as you were speaking about last holiday season, I celebrate Christmas. And so it was my first Christmas since my dad had died. He died in November. So thinking about that and how I navigated that. And I remember I went to a holiday remembrance service at a local funeral home. One of our co authors from our book, The Grief Experience, she's a funeral director, and she invited me to it. And that's something that, a lot of people do, right? The holiday remembrance services are going on. There's also a ton of people around here. Every town seems to be doing this more and more every year, but decorating the trees, the
Mhm.
memorial trees. And I love that idea, but it can also be hard.
Yeah.
I walked into that room, I'm going to hopefully not cheer up while thinking about it. But when I walked into that remembrance, and there was this angel ornament that was given to each of us, and it had both of my parents' names on it.
Mm.
And to see that for the first time was really hard.
Yeah.
To see their names together like that. And while it was beautiful and I put it on my tree, it was hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, as we go through the holidays, we go through traditions, some that we're maybe not ready to do this year, and some that we want to be able to do because it does bring us comfort and it does keep that connection to our loved one. But sometimes as we're moving forward in our grief, we need to change things as well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, so as we've been doing each week, we are sitting down with some questions that we've gotten from people who are trying to work through this and trying to navigate it. And so, one of the questions that we're going to be trying to answer today is, what simple ways can I honor my loved one through holiday decorations without overwhelming myself? And there's a lot of tradition behind that, and some people are really used to doing it up big, but the idea of putting the candles out or putting a tree up, we're always talking about how exhausted people are, how much energy it takes, not having a lot of motivation, not having necessarily a lot of interest, not feeling festive. Um, but then also worrying like they loved Christmas. Like they'd be really sad if I didn't put the tree up. So trying to figure out how to navigate that. We're going to be talking about that.
Yeah, and the second one, I'm gonna share a little story that goes along with it. So I have a client and she has a little girl and her husband had died and they went to Christmas and she came home Christmas night from her family's house and her daughter got really upset and said, "How come nobody bought a present for my dad?"
Huh.
And so that was a big conversation they had to have. And so the question for this time is, should I buy a present for my loved one who's passed away? And a really interesting topic, I think, to think about, and maybe we don't always consider even doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a thing. There's no rules with any of this. And that's kind of like a thing that is said often, but I do think we have to really internalize that because we're still trying to figure out the right or wrong. What's the right thing to do? What's the wrong thing to do? Sometimes we're almost like a little self-conscious about doing something that may feel strange. People say that when they're like, I talk to my loved one all the time. I know that's crazy. I'm like, nothing crazy about it, you know? And there may be things that don't feel normal or natural, but there's parts of this process that just, if you haven't been through it before, it's all foreign. So all of it is going to feel strange, even if so many people have gone through something like this before. So yeah, just trying to help people decide for themselves. And hopefully through some of our answers and through some of our conversation, that can help you think about what's right for you.
Yeah, so have a listen, and we'll be back with our actionable step for the week.
What are some simple ways I can honor my loved one through holiday decorations without overwhelming myself?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this because I think that this is something really special that we can do. The holidays can bring up so many different feelings, and decorations can be triggering, right? All the memories when we take them out. And there's a few things that I've heard that I really like. One of our co-authors, actually, of our book from the Grief Experience, she does these little red ornaments with the people that have died, and so she'll write their name or picture on it, and every year they bring that box out, and it's actually a really special way for her and her children to be able to talk about these people that maybe they didn't even know, but they were important in her life. And so something even as simple as that, just a little ornament. There's also a ton of like memorial ornaments you can find online that you can customize. And I know for me, when I know somebody has had somebody die, I always get them one for their first holiday without them. So that way they can still remember them and honor them.
Yeah.
For another thing, a workshop that I did the last couple of years was creating a memorial wreath. And so what they do is they bring ornaments that reminded them of their loved one or that they were their loved ones. And actually, I wish I had a picture to show you what mine looks like that I did in memory of my mom. But you put just basically all the ornaments, and then that wreath can honestly stay out all the time. But it's just a night I have it on my door at my office during the holiday season. And it's just, I love it because it's got all these ornaments that have memories connected to my mom and reminds me of things. But it's just a nice way to know that she's still kind of with me during the holidays. And this year I'm doing it something a little different. We're doing a vision board.
Okay.
So, what we're asking people to do is to think about maybe some things that they'd like to bring, maybe some recipe cards, things like that. And we're going to do a bit of a guided meditation of like, how do you want the holidays to look? And then creating that board to kind of be able to help you envision what that looks like for you. And so maybe that will include some different decorations that you can use. But I think it's about doing what's right for you. Maybe mom's ornaments don't come out this Christmas because it feels too overwhelming, and that's okay. There's always next year.
Yeah.
Maybe you limit the decorations, or maybe you buy some new decorations that don't have all that sentimental value because it feels too much. Or maybe you want to go all out and take them all out and reminisce and remember and sit with that grief, and that's okay as well.
Yeah.
So I just think you have to think about what feels right to you.
Yeah. I do think that that's really, the important thing because a lot of people have built up a lot of decorations too over the years. And so that word overwhelm in the question this person was asking kind of felt like there may be a lot. And do I
Yep.
have to do all of it? And I think sometimes, we talk a lot about, like, I was speaking to a woman today about the Christmas tree, and she doesn't really feel up to putting it up, but her husband sort of wants to, and trying to find that balance there. So we're, looking to, like, not upset people here, but I also know people feel very pressured not to let down their loved one who's passed away.
Mhm.
And, like, maybe they really love the holidays and these decorations, like, were their favorite thing. Maybe they had like a whole nutcracker collection or something like that. So I think for some people too, it's also that challenge of, like, feeling not just about how am I feeling, but am I going to be, like, not honoring them by not doing this? So it's hard. I think that's where I think you and I always sort of say, like, you can take down a few, you can do one, or maybe you pass them around to the family a little bit. Like, just I think my singular piece of advice is to maybe just do it a little bit differently. Like, if I had to kind of say, like, as a blanket statement, to find something that feels comfortable, and maybe that's a little bit different. Sometimes for the first year at least, or first couple of years.
And maybe some of those ornaments you decide to give out to other people that would they would be meaningful
Right.
too as well.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
might be a nice little present and a nice way to honor your loved one and also be able to still talk about them during the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great idea. That's something I've been hearing people talk about more, is taking their loved ones' belongings and really spreading them, not just through the family, because that's usually like our immediate thought, but through friends. And I think
Mhm.
that means so much to people. It
You
really does.
My mom always made chocolate chip cinnamon bars at Christmas, and we have her handwriting written recipe of it. And so my sister a couple of years ago took a cutting board and laminated that recipe onto it. And
No, that's
that was one of my favorite presents I've ever gotten. It hangs up in my kitchen still.
yeah.
And it was something meaningful that really was so special. And so many good memories are tied to those chocolate chip cinnamon bars, even though I do believe that there's an ingredient missing because I can't seem to make it perfect.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that also kind of, and we've talked about, we're going to be talking about some things like gift giving and all of that, and how to be handling some of that. So that'll come up too. But I think it's wanting to surround yourself with things, I should say, that make you feel comfortable, that feel familiar. Sometimes things can be simultaneously very triggering, but then also very comforting. So the other thing too is that it's okay to put something out and be like, nope, and put it back. That you're not
Well,
ready for it.
it just comes down to asking, is this going to help or hurt?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it's not going to be helpful, then maybe it goes away for this year, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Kelly, if you had to sum up, what are some simple ways that I can honor my loved one through holiday decorations without feeling overwhelmed? What would you say?
First, you have to do what feels right to you. Figure out what feels good. Ask yourself that simple question. Is this going to help or hurt? Maybe there's something you can do a special memorial ornament. Maybe it's making a memorial wreath. Maybe it's not doing anything with the decorations this year and deciding to try again next year. It's about sitting with it and kind of finding what's right for you and doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big help. Well, thank you so much, Kelly.
Are you ready to take the next step on your grief journey with real tools and compassionate guidance? The Grief Ladies are launching a brand new workshop series based on their signature grief GRIEF framework. 5 trail markers to help you find your footing after your loss: grounding, rebuilding, interacting, evolving, and finding. Each workshop focuses on one trail marker, guiding you through practical steps to move from surviving to living again, all in a space that's honest, supportive, and real. Led by grief experts Kelly Daugherty and Karyn Arnold, these workshops combine decades of experience with tools you can start using today. Visit griefladies.com to explore the upcoming workshops, because you don't have to climb this mountain alone.
So, Kelly, I have a question for you. Should I buy a present for my loved one who has passed away?
Yeah, so I think as always, Karen, our answer is pretty much it depends, right? You have to do what feels right for you. and ask yourself, is this going to help or hurt? I know some people will take like a box and maybe even just write memories about their loved one or different things. And then they'll put that in a box or a stocking and then they'll bring that out at the holidays and talk about it. Um, I have a lot of women that I worked with that have had stillborn loss. And so what they'll do is they'll actually adopt a child the same age as their child would have been, like one off of like one of the trees or whatever, and they'll buy presents for that
Mhm.
child, which I think is such a great way to honor their baby and also still remember theirs. And so maybe that's something you do, or maybe you do a donation in your loved one's memory as kind of a present. I think it really depends on what feels right to you.
Yeah.
It's there's no right or wrong with this.
Yeah, yeah. I like the idea of, and this is what I think I've heard people have the most success with in terms of feeling good about it, is buying something and then donating it, whether it's like you
Mhm.
said, something off a tree or, whatever it may be. But because I think it still feels like something, to be going into the store or ordering something online. I think it's one of those questions that comes up for people because sometimes they feel sort of even crazy thinking about it, which, as we know, people feel crazy a lot of times talking to their loved one or, some of the different rituals and things that they do. But I think there's just so many changes, and that feels like a big one to just very abruptly not be having them on your Christmas list. It's a
Mhm.
very tough transition.
It is. It's very hard. I'm dealing with that myself, as you know, and, like, even some of, like, the things that, like, I always make chocolate at Christmas, right? And knowing that I don't have to send the chocolate to my dad has been, ooh. It's been hard. So, I get that completely. So, what I've done is I've made some memorial Christmas ornaments, and I'm giving of my dad, and I'm giving them out to certain people, and so I kind of feel like that's what I'm choosing to do.
That's a great idea. I love that idea. Yeah, I had a year. So my nephew and my brother are like practically the same person. And so I always bought them the same thing for Christmas. And after my nephew passed away, I didn't even realize it the following year. I bought two of the same pajama
Oh,
pants. And when
uh-huh,
they came and I'm like, how did I get two? And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like it was one of those weird
uh-huh.
moments. Like, how did I even do that? So sometimes it's not even intentional, and
Yep,
you just end up doing things. So
yep,
I ended up giving it actually to a friend and sort of said that's what it was. And I think that they felt really actually kind of special about that. So
mhm,
it's like you're just navigating and doing the best you can through all of this, but so much to think about. I mean,
exactly.
it's just so many different details. So, well, Kelly, so if you had to just sort of sum up in a sentence or two, like what a person should do if they're trying to figure out whether they should buy a present for their loved one at the holidays or not.
It's totally up to you. If it feels right, if you think it's gonna help you, then go for it. Maybe it's buying a present in honor of them or in memory of them and giving it to somebody else. Maybe it is making a stocking and putting some of their favorite things in it or memories, and you can just pull them out at Christmas and talk about it. Maybe it's doing a donation in honor of them or adopting, somebody else, like a child or another person who may not have as much and could really benefit from something special on the holidays.
Yeah, those are great ideas.
Well, I think those questions were really great and they remind us that, grief doesn't have an ending because love doesn't have an ending. And so we can find ways to keep our connection to our loved one. And, and I think those questions are really a sign or a way of thinking about that,
Mhm.
through presents or holiday direction or decorations. So, as you may know, if you have listened to our podcast before, we love to end with an actionable step and goal for the upcoming week because we do believe there are things that can help you when you're grieving, even during the holiday season. So, Karen, what is our step for this week?
All right. Well, again, we're framing it in the idea of a gift and the gift to give yourself. So, one of the most thoughtful gifts you can give yourself, we've talked about this, is just that space to honor your loved one in the way that feels meaningful, but not overwhelming. I mean, that's a really important part of it is that we can stress ourselves out. Like, what should I do? What's right? I think a lot of times when we're trying to honor a person, we're trying to find that thing that symbolizes who they are, what our relationship was, how much I love them, what they meant to me. I've tried to do this for the people I've lost, and then I've found out like, oh wait, there isn't that thing because it's too big how I feel, and what they meant. But bringing it back down, as we say, to the small, the things that can really be very big, a small decoration that represents them, setting aside a quiet moment of remembrance, lighting a candle, buying a gift in their honor. That was one of the questions that had come up. Do you buy a gift for your loved one? Yeah, you can do it. You can keep it. You can use it as a symbol of something. You can pass it on to someone. You can do it as a donation. There are so many lovely ways to do this, and they're just gentle gestures, is what we're hoping, that can help you feel connected to your loved one. Because we know, as you are finding and as you are moving forward, the scariest thing is to feel like you're leaving them behind. So, any way that you can be doing that, that feels right to you and that feels like that fits. And I think if we just give ourselves a little quiet for that, those things kind of come up sometimes more naturally than we'd expect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great step for this week. And we will be back next week. We are back to G, so grounding, but we are staying with the holiday season because we're not through it yet.
No, nope.
So stay tuned to learn some new ways to deal with grounding during the holiday season. We look forward to having you come back and listen and hope that you take care of yourself this week.
See you then.
Thanks for joining us on the Grief Ladies.
Don't wait to feel better to get started. Getting started is what makes you feel better. Put this week's tool to work.
If today's episode helped, share it with someone who needs it and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.
And remember, we're here for you, your trusted grief ladies, navigating this path together.